Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Mezzanine Behavior. I'm your host, Jason Eric Testa. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. I had a dream that I got in a fight with Camila Cabello and Nicki Minaj at the St. James Theater. I also don't think about Camila Cabello at all, or Nicki Minaj anymore these days, so I don't know why I'm angry at them. Over the last 2 weeks, I had the very unique and very rare experience of seeing the same show off Broadway, but in two different productions in the span of a week and a half. I saw the very last performance of Tartuffe starring Andre de Shields at the House of Redemere, which was a unique, immersive experience in an estate library. And then, a couple days ago, I had the pleasure of seeing one of the very first previews of Tartuffe, again, at New York Theater Workshop starring Matthew Broderick, Bianca Del Rio, Amber Gray, etc., etc. It was a very unique experience seeing the same show done differently, very close to each other in big professional ways. And it got me thinking. And it's kind of a wild idea. Not sure if it would work financially or not, depending on the show. But I've been wondering if a two-production model of the same show in a one Broadway season could work. I think it would definitely be a model shakeup to the current musical theater shebang going on Broadway right now. Well, it doesn't have to be musical theater. It can be a play, such as Tartuffe. But I think it could be very unique and different and possibly enticing to audiences. You announce both productions of the same show at the same time, have one open earlier in the season for a limited run, and have the other open up later in the season. Or maybe have them both playing at different theaters. Could be kind of confusing for some audience members. It would be using the same producers but a different creative team and possibly a different cast. And the audiences who see the first version would get to see the second version either for free or for a very small price. So it's almost like you're paying for two shows at once. I think for this model to work successfully, it would definitely have to be a property that's very well known. It would have to be shows that audiences would want to go see multiple times. What I'm thinking is two productions of the same show that totally contrast in one another. Have a Jamie Lloyd-inspired stripped-down version, and then a grand, huge, big budget, massive stage production directed by Casey Nicholaw. One production could be set in modern time, the other could be set in 1800. Stylistically, they would have to be very different from one another. I think it could be a really cool, unique experience. I definitely think commercially it would be not a liability. It would be scary to put your money behind that. I'm not sure if any creatives or producers would want to do that because it would be such a swing. But with the right artists involved and with the right marketing, I think it could work. With the right combination of artistic ambition, audience incentive, and clever marketing, this idea could turn into a real theatrical event as opposed to just another cash grab on Broadway. And if any producers are listening to this and want to do this, I would like to be a co-producer on it. Thank you. This week's song that would scare a theater kid goes out to, I'm probably gonna have to bleep this title, but it's called The Musical by Ash Nico. Listen, Linda, the musical part of the title would probably entice theater people, right? But then the first word of the title hits, and all the NYU trust fund babies would be clutching their pearls. The song could be in the musical. Realistically, it could be in the musical. But I feel it's this very niche pop song that's on a very hard-hitting pop album that doesn't quite fit into it, but I think is so funny, and obviously it's tongue-in-cheek. And if you're auditioning for the right musical, you could use this song. Don't audition for *Anne Juliet* with this song, but you could audition for *Book of Mormon* with this song. I love it. And I hope the day comes where the right project I audition for could allow me to sing this song because it's chef's kiss. Welcome back to Former Child Star Support Group. Today I'm going to be telling the story of how I was fired from my first ever acting gig as a very small child. I was so tiny that I don't even remember this, and my parents tell me this story. But apparently, I was cast as one of Ben Stiller's sons in the movie The Royal Tenenbaums. Tenenbaums? I was cast as one of his sons in The Royal Tenenbaums. I don't know if it was like a younger version or what. I was very, very young, like I said. I don't remember much about it. It was a huge deal for tiny me. So much that my mom was so excited about me doing this that she took me to get my hair cut the day before that I was supposed to have my first day on set. You know, let's get you fresh, looking real cute for the camera. You know, we're from Long Island. We're not used to, or at least at the time, we were not used to the entertainment industry in any kind of way. So she gets me my haircut. We show up to set, and I'm assuming the people there were like, what happened? Because apparently they liked my hair, and part of the reason why I got cast was because of my head of hair. They said, oh, that's not the hair that we cast. They released me, unfortunately. They couldn't put a wig on me, or I guess the character couldn't have short hair. Because at the time, I believe young kids weren't allowed to wear wigs, or I don't know what the hubbub was around it, but they couldn't find a solution, and they couldn't use me, and I was not Ben Stiller's son. I later went on to audition for a night at the museum to play his son. Didn't book that one, though. And now I got paid, and I lived to hear this story from my parents. So, long story short, don't get a haircut the day before you're supposed to film something on set. If they want your haircut, they'll do it for you. You guys really seem to like my Broadway casting predictions. Why didn't we ever get Fergie as Norma Desmond in the Sunset Boulevard revival? One of the many great things about that production, I saw it 4 times, was that Nicole Scherzinger was playing this role. She was playing a faded superstar who still had a lot of talent, but was just not getting her shine because the industry is just ageist and misogynistic and can be very horrible to women. Nicole had the look, she saw the vocals, and it just worked perfect for this character who was going through a similar moment. Obviously, to much more extremes. But their storylines paralleled. And I think Fergie also has that kind of paralleled story to her. She's an iconic performer in the industry who was very massive in the early 2000s. I bought her second album, Double Dutchess, the visual album. I don't know about you guys, but I did, and I still love and support Fergie despite her memes. I've seen her live. She can sing. She has a presence. She can move. She's gorgeous. Bring back Fergie, please. I think that production closed way too early, and I think there could have been a whole lineup of new Normas that we could have had in that show. And I think if we want a Norma that parallels, just like Nicole did, Fergie! God damn it! And she was in the movie 9. So she knows what musicals are. She could do a flip while singing as if we never said goodbye. Now on to a couple questions that you viewers have for me. This question comes from Tracy1253. What is the worst stage mishap that's ever happened to you? The worst stage mishap that's ever happened to me. Oh, I know. After I graduated from high school and I was in LA, I got cast in the Los Angeles premiere of the musical Calvin Burger. It was this small 4-person musical based on Cyrano, and I played the role of Calvin Burger, the titular role. And I was in it with Julia Lester, Tony nominee, hey, Joshua Bassett, Grace Kaufman. In the musical, the character Matt, who Joshua played, was supposed to punch me at the end, towards the end of the show, because I stole his woman. And it was an equity production, and by equity rules, you have to have a fight call, and you can't actually fight someone on stage. It has to be choreographed to make it look real, and still have the same effect as a real punch. So we had rehearsed it correctly. I had never been punched once. And I don't know if it was the first show or second show. I don't remember. But one of the very first shows, the punch comes around. And for some reason, either I was too close to him, he was too close to me. And he decked me straight in the nose. Full force. Obviously, it was not on purpose. One of us had just messed up. But having to sing and belt out your heart 10 seconds after you just got punched hardcore in your nose, it was a lot. I couldn't feel my nose. I was singing, just hoping that I was doing the right things correctly. I was seeing stars a little bit. So I think that was probably my worst stage mishap. And like I said, it was a 4-person show, so the audience knew. There's actually a video of it. I don't think I should post it. But you hear the punch loud and clear. Oof. It's funny to look back on, though. Second question. You've been in and around the industry since you were a kid. Has any celebrity ever surprised you when you met them in real life? Ooh, good question. I've mainly had some amazing experiences with meeting celebrities or just people that I've looked up to. And I didn't work with this girl, the story I'm about to tell, but it was just so iconic and so great that I'll just bundle it in with this. Like I said, I lived in Los Angeles for a long time, and one of my day jobs there was working at a Blue Bottle coffee shop. I never really get starstruck because at the end of the day, I'll probably work with them one day. We probably have mutual friends in some way, and also they're just humans, so I can tell them how much I appreciate their work, but I'm not going to be like, you know? One of those people that I always expressed my appreciation for was Addison Rae. Addison Rae would come into the cafe all the time, and she was such a sweetheart. And I'm not just saying that because she's Addison Rae, but she genuinely has this aura around her. She would come in all the time, and we would just chat a little bit here and there. At this point, some of her tracks with Charlie XCX had leaked. And if you are a gay boy and love pop music and are on the internet chronically, you probably heard some of these demos. One of them was for the song To Die For with Charlie XCX. And one day I was just like, screw it. I'm going to tell her how we need that song. So I was like, hey, by the way, we're still waiting for your music, especially To Die For. And she laughed and she was like, give me a few weeks and we'll see what happens. And I was like, okay, this is great news. I was starting to hate that job so much. The hours were wild. The management was rude. I'm an actor. I was there to pay my bills, and the people there were acting like this was a career, but it's making coffee. And we're in LA. What? She announced her EP, and I was just sitting there daydreaming. What if she comes into the cafe today and she invites me out to go party with her and Charlie XCX tonight to celebrate the release of her EP? Well, an hour later, Addison comes in, and I was like, weird. My brain, a little psychic, cool, but weird. We're talking for a little bit, and I told her, congrats on the music tonight. I am very, very excited for it, finally. And she says, come out to Hamburger Mary's tonight and celebrate. What time? And she says, 8:00. And I was like, okay. And then she walks out. I was thinking maybe it was a whole event. She had rented out all of Hamburger Mary to celebrate her EP. But I arrive and I'm like, oh, I'm here for, and the person goes, Addison? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, right this way. And they escort me to the first 2 tables up front of the stage. And Addison's like, Jason. And she brought me in, and I sat next to her, and she slapped a whole wad of dollar bills down to tip the drag queens. She was like, here you go. And I said, oh no, I'm going to Venmo them. I literally had my Venmo pulled up. And she said, no, don't worry about it. You're here to have fun. Yeah, I just sat at a table with she and her friends. Yeah, Addison Rae is genuinely the sweetest, most personable, nicest celebrity that I've ever met. Shout out to Addison. Love the album. And that story probably sounds fake, but it's 1000% true. You can ask my friends Leo and Jonathan. They know. One day I can't wait to work with her instead of making her coffee. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Mezzanine Behavior. I will see you next week. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave questions down below that I will answer for next week's episode. And au revoir. Yeah. Bye.